Hey and welcome to part 5 of my ultimate upgrade series for upgrading your character from literally nothing all the way to max. Now part 4, if you missed it, was optimizing your character in terms of gear to get some decent statistics. For example, trying to get the Bone Devil's Ribcage, the Garistro Horns, or even the Alliance headpiece for accuracy, and arms such as the Wrist Guards of Participation and boots like the Wasteland Wanderers, etc, etc. And this would be for DPS, it'd be different story for tanks and a different story again for healers. I still have yet to go over tanks and healers, and I will do that as a catch up for that part 4, but at this stage I'm going to assume that you've gone and prioritized whichever gear pieces are good for your character to fulfill your role. So right now we're just going to go with the stock standard of the Seals of the North gear just to represent like all of the different roles. So from here on you should be about 46,000 item level up to 50,000 item level. With our current setup with all these enchantments, these different companions here, and also these different mounts with their insignias and collars, we're currently at 50,000 item level, and that allows you to unlock literally everything within the game, from your trial queue, advanced dungeon queue, all of these, and even your Reaper's Challenge at 50,000 item level. And so now you've unlocked every single piece of content within the game, then you've gone to optimize your character by trying to grind out those particular gear pieces, and now you want to progress further and potentially work your way towards some of these endgame trials like Tower of the Mad Mage, Zariel, and even Crown of Keldagon. And in those you kind of want to max out your character so you can be as good as you possibly can to help your team out as best you can to fulfill your role. So here we're going to go on from 50,000 item level all the way to the max of just over 80,000 item level. So what would be the first step I would suggest you do? Well, since you now have the gear you want for endgame, I would recommend applying reinforcement kits to them. That'll basically give you the best bang for buck in terms of item level and statistics, and you'll find them on the auction house here just in the consumable section. Again, you'll be wanting to get those major +1s. You'll probably have to scroll through a bunch of them, and you can get all different sorts of offensive stats there along with defensive stats, and that'll be chucked into these armor here. You can see we'll just throw in some hit points there. Again, you'll be wanting to focus on stats that you need for your build. At this point, you're ideally following somebody else's build, or you just already know what you're doing because you've played the game before. And you'll also want to be chucking in some jewels here. Again, you'll find those in the consumable sections on the auction house as well. You can get like stamina regen ones, you can get awareness ones, and you can get combat advantage ones. Don't be wasting astral diamonds by chucking these jewels into gear pieces like we're doing right now that you won't be using on an optimized character. Like for an optimized character, you'd have like the Band of Air, or you'd have some of these really good rings from like Vault of Stars, etc. And that just gave us a bump of about 352 item level at a cost of only about 320,000 astral diamonds. And so step 27, you'll be going to your companions tab, and you'll be upgrading these 4 companions to mythic that you have slotted in here. Ideally, you will have the companions that best suits you to improve your own stats based on what role you are. For example, as a tank, we'll want some ones that have like defensive stats, like Bruner's pretty good, Regis pretty good. But again, keep in mind of your own budget and what other companions are out there, what prices they are, and so on. So we go to upgrade these 4 companions. You can use tokens or you can use pure astral diamonds. Ideally, you would have VIP keys and you would be opening your lock boxes every now and again, and you'd be saving those trade bars for the discount time, and you'd be buying then upgrade tokens from the terminal and trade bar store. And that would be pretty much the cheapest and best way to get these upgrade tokens. Alternatively, you could look on the auction house, calculate the value of these tokens. You need 150, and if upgrade tokens are worth less than 10,000 astral diamond per token, then you're better off buying the tokens from the auction house, and if they're more than that, then you're better off just spending this pure astral diamonds. So we get all of those upgraded all the way to mythic just here. That gives us a decent chunk in bolster. We get to about 50%, but more importantly, these stats that these companions now give us is increased all the way to maximum, along with the item level and combined rating being on 7 850, and that should give you a decent boost to contribute to how well you can perform in your roll. And that gives us about a 2200 boost in our item level at a cost of about 10 million astral diamonds. And so we move on to step 28. You want to go to your enchantments tab and you want to upgrade some of these artifacts, get them nicely upgraded to mythic, and I would prioritize your primary artifact first. So that'll be an artifact that will buff up your allies' damage, and then also have your just secondary artifacts that will give you a nice spread of stats. And make sure you run with one artifact that's going to complete your set. Like for example, if you're running the Hallister set, make sure you got all 3 pieces slotted in. Or if you're running the Book of the Vile Darkness set, again, make sure you got all of those set pieces slotted in. And I would recommend that as a DPS, you would complete dragonbone Vale, and you'd at least at this point have the Mythilar set from the final reward. And so with getting all 4 artifacts to mythic, you gain a pretty big boost of 2600 item level at a cost of about 4 million astral diamonds. And so we move on to step 29, Mythic Enchantments. Now, in my opinion, the best strategy is if you have old enchantments, you're going to be trading those in for medallions, and then you'll be purchasing these rank 2 choice packs. On blue, you'll be getting 9 of those, and you'll be getting 1 more of the legendary ones. Alternatively, if you don't have those medallions, do not buy them here. That's a big rip off. You go to the enchantment section, just search combat there, and you'll be wanting to buy a legendary choice pack there. That'll cost you 900,000. So again, it's 9 of these blue enchantments that you'll want, and then it's just 1 legendary one more, because at this point you should have a legendary combat enchantment already. And so from the legendary pack, you'll want to be getting this Companion Enhancement down the bottom. You'll be slotting that into your Companion Enhancement slot just here, and then of course you'll be refining that all the way up to mythic, costing you a bunch of refinement points, glyphs, and gold. And the biggest cost will be these moats, which will cost you like 1.3 million depending on the price on the auction house, and they give you that 100% chance to actually upgrade it. Without it, it's impossible to upgrade unless you use like preservation wards to protect these, but that ends up even more expensive than just using coalescent moats, and you can get those freely by invoking with your Vault of Piety here with the coffers of celestial artifacts. Every time you invoke at the beginning, you will gain a celestial coin, and the last time you invoke, you also gain 1, and those are used then to buy those coffers, which can obtain your coalescent moats. Along with that, you can just get sales from the Zen market and just buy them off the auction house from players. And right now with the Harvester of Nightmares, you could spend the token of achievement after completing the event for 14 days to get a coalescent moat here as well. Pretty expensive, but definitely worth it if you're running an augment companion. You gain a pretty massive boost in the stats that you need. And of course, for the rest of your enchantments, just get them replaced out with some blue ones from these blue packs. You'll be slotting those in, and then once you have all of your blue ones, you're then refining them all the way to mythic. And overall, you'll gain a pretty massive boost to your item level. Make sure you're focusing on the stats that you need again for your particular build. Again, you only need 9 of these enchantments. Forget about the bonus one. And you're of course refining up your combat enchantment to mythic as well. And we're just using a poison thorn here for example, but tanks you'll be using like a defensive one. DPS you'll be using like an offensive one. Poison thorn's about the best there. And healers you'll probably be using a defensive one like flash freeze or something. And overall that upgrades all of those 11 enchantments to mythic, giving you a massive boost of over 13,000 item level. However, at a cost of about 50 million astral diamonds. And so we move on to step 30, Mythic Insignias. Generally what you'll be doing is buying these insignias off the auction house for about 50,000 astral diamonds up to 60,000 astral diamonds. You can buy legendary ones, but don't buy them until they're under 300,000. And of course, you can always go to your terminal and trade bar store, the mount section, and buy these epic insignias. And you'll be refining them up from epic there. You can always buy legendary ones if you find them nice and cheap as well, and just do the math yourself and you'll upgrade them. Anyway, you're getting all of those upgraded and you go slot in those mythic ones, ultimately giving you again a pretty massive boost in terms of the stats they give and also the item level. Again, you're focusing on the stats that you need to fulfill your role the best. Now overall, that's a whopping cost of about 45 million astral diamonds to do this. However, you will obtain about a 6,000 item level boost, going from epic insignias to mythic, giving now 500 each. And then we move on to step 31, mythic mounts. Again, on the mount section, we'll be going and finding a bunch of mounts and upgrading them to mythic. You can go and upgrade a bunch of your epic mounts all the way to mythic. That'll give you a bunch of bolster. Alternatively, you could buy mythic mounts off the auction house or dropping them from lockboxes. Again, do the math for yourself how many upgrade tokens it's going to cost you. It's 350 upgrade tokens just from epic. You can see 150 to legendary, and then it's 200 to mythic. So have a look at what the prices of those upgrade tokens are, and then just having a look at the prices of, let's say, directly purchasing a mythic mount. Right now, if the mount is below 500k on the auction house on legendary, it's better to buy it than upgrading from epic. And if the mythic mount is below 1.4 million, it's better to buy the mythic mount than upgrading from legendary to mythic. But again, keep in mind which mount you need for your active combat power and also your active equip power. Again, make sure to slot in those mythic mounts on your stable, and that'll also give you a bunch of universal areas depending on what mythic mounts you do have, and then you can have whatever insignia bonuses you want or need. And finally, make sure you're using the right combat powers that give you that 3000 item level. That will be based on whatever mounts you have on mythic. So make sure again you have the right mount on mythic for your build, and that'll give you 6,000 item level total there. So overall, upgrading all mounts to mythic, having 10 of them to get this bolster to 100%, will give you about 2,655 item level, along with a cost of about 13 million. So finally, on to step 32. We've got to upgrade our remaining companions, or we've at least got to obtain 5 more mythic companions. So you're going to source them however you will and then get them upgraded. You could get all 5 companions already on mythic like so, or you could go watch my previous section where I talked about them and upgrade them through companion upgrade tokens or just astral diamonds, and essentially you'll gain your bolster up to 100%, which will give you about 755 item level gain. So at this point we're at about 78,000 item level. We're just missing the Mythalar set as we are here with this setup, and thus our item level is a bit lower, and we're pretty much at a maxed out build. Our item level again would go down further if we optimized our gear better in terms of getting like the rib cage, the Gristro horns, all of those high-end items which will contribute to your overall effectiveness. But across the roles, tanks, healers, DPS, all those gear choices are entirely different, so I won't suggest anything now. I suggest you go back to part 4 and watch my recommendations for optimizing your gear with regards to gear choices, how to obtain those gear pieces, etc. I am missing still the healer section and the tank section, and I will go back to that as soon as I've finished working on those sections. As a very last thing that you could do to completely max out your character would be go to the mount section and get these collars refined up all the way to mythic. It's not something I recommend anybody do. You can do it really slowly by doing the Reaper's challenge, getting those greater shards with the Reaper's mark, and slowly getting these refined up. You can see it will cost you glyphs, it'll cost you 50 greater shards up to legendary, and then it costs you 100 greater shards up to mythic. It'll also cost you a big chunk of insignia powder. They're just hella expensive, and if you want to go buy them from the auction house, you can see nearly 30 million a piece. it's ridiculous, and it's not worth the gain that you would obtain. It's only like 200 item level up to legendary. That could be worth it, but then to mythic it's only another 200 item level, and to overall get all of these insignias put up to said mythic rank would only give you about 2000 item level, which is not going to be worth it for most people with regards to the price tag, as you're looking at about 150 million astral diamonds to do so, or like years of grinding the greater shards yourself. Otherwise, you can always buy greater shards. They cost around 200,000 per piece, and yeah, if you need like over 750 of those, that's already 150 million just with greater shards alone. So with that said, hopefully this overview has been somewhat helpful to you guys. You can see on the bottom left there, our current price range was just under 150 million astral diamonds to get this character fully maxed out. It's an all right amount. Again, you can do all content on about 50 to 60,000 item level with optimized stats. No need to push it any higher. However, the Crown of Keldagon does require a little bit extra. You might want to get to those 70k's item level marks to make sure you're outputting like enough damage on your DPS. Tanks and healers can usually get away a lot more with having lower item level and stats in general. Just do your job and happy out. And healers and tanks are roles I recommend new players start out in this game, because they're generally a lot cheaper to actually get the gear for, get the optimized stats for. Companions are usually more cheaper on the tank side, and overall we nearly have our character to 80,000, which is like the max, and you've no need to get that high. Right now you're only gated at 50,000 item level from all content, and that's it. Same with campaigns. The maximum item level you need here is 45,000 for the newest adventure and campaign, and that's it. The next module will probably be 50,000, so it'd be pretty good if you could get your character to that point. And you can see in my previous videos it only costs us about 8 million astral diamonds. In the future I'll make another video which will be just like the breakdown of all of these steps in a quick video. Just I can share my document as well. Along with that, you can see the quick breakdown of how much it's going to cost you, how much it benefits you, and my priority list. Again, this is all just from my testing, from my math. Other people might have different opinions, and that's completely fine. So with that said, I'd like to give a massive thank you to all of my channel members for helping me keep my channel going. And if I presented this well, consider leaving the video a like. If you're new around here, consider subscribing. We'll see you guys around. Goodbye for now.